So all the way through the accounts of Jesus, we can find many examples of Jesus performing and functioning as a servant. A good servant doesn't always have to be told what to do. A good servant will see things to do. A good servant will be alert. He will be watching to see what he can do in order to render service. And that's the attitude that we need as husbands and fathers, an attitude of what can I do to be of service to my family? How can I bless them? How can I be able to minister unto them? You see, Jesus functioned as a shepherd. He is the great and the good shepherd. And there's a real sense in which we as husbands and fathers are to function as a shepherd. Over in the book of Ezekiel, it talks about shepherds that did not take care of their flocks. They were just concerned about themselves. And they didn't tend to their flocks. They didn't feed their flocks. And they didn't meet the needs of their sheep. And God brought a very scathing rebuke against those shepherds. And I wonder what God thinks about an earthly father and an earthly husband who does not function as a shepherd over his little flock. And he's thinking altogether about himself. Men, we can get selfish. We can get self-centered. And we can come to the opinion that our wives ought to serve us. That they ought to give themselves in ministry to us without our reciprocating and showing that kind of an attitude of servitude towards them. The Lord wants us to have it clearly in mind that we are to function as servants ministering to the needs. I believe we should really consider our wives as our number one sheep. And that's what God has caused me to consider. My wife is my number one sheep. Now, I've got a habit. I haven't discussed this with Ida Mae, but as I speak it, she'll probably say, yes, I'm aware of that. Usually in the mornings, we get up, and we have a little routine that we go through with. I get up and do some exercise in good weather. We'll get out and we'll take about a 2-mile walk and trot a little bit and then come back to the house and usually eat a very light breakfast. And then we'll have our devotions, and I will read Scripture to her, and we'll have our prayer time. And then I go off to meet with the other pastor and some of the men, and the pastor and I then go to the church, and we spend the rest of the morning usually in conference and mostly in prayer. Now, before I leave the house to go to be with the men and to pray with the other pastor, I say to Ida Mae, do you have any needs today? Is there anything that I need to do for you? And there'll be some things that a lot of time I'll see that need to be taken care of. But I want to be sure that she understands that I am conscious of her, that I am aware that she has needs. Do you need transportation? Do you need help with any of the projects that you have today? Is there anything that I can do today to make your life easier, to make your life more pleasant? So God, you see, has been working. I didn't always do that. But God has been doing a little overhaul job on me to make me aware that she is my priority project by way of taking care of, and that I've got to see that her needs are met. Now, of course, there are a lot of times when I know that she has things that I need to help her with. Now, some men have the high and lofty idea that the woman's position is to take care of all the household responsibilities, and he's not going to get his hands and dirty his hands in any of those activities. But I'm not of that sort. I believe that if there's something that is pressuring her, something that is really putting a load on her that I can help her with, that it just behooves me to get in there and help her. Now, we have a big church garden. It's about 1 acre in size, and Ida Mae and I are in charge of the garden, and we have to see that it's taken care of and all of that. And so when the produce comes in, there's a limited time to do something about it. I mean, you just can't let it sit around because it wilts and it loses its value and it spoils. And so when the produce comes in, it has to be taken care of. The canning has to take care of. Getting it processed for freezing, it has to be done. And I've noticed sometimes when a lot of stuff from the garden would be coming in, Ida Mae would begin to get a little tense about it. Other things are taking place. I don't know how I'm going to get it done. And so I can go in the kitchen and I can begin to snap the beans. I can begin to husk the corn or whatever needs to be done. You see, that takes a pressure off of her. That takes a burden off of her. When she's under that kind of a load, I need to be sensitive to that and know that it's putting a pressure on her that I can help her with, that I can do something about. So, men, we need to be thoughtful about the needs of our wives in very practical ways. Just be aware of what they need. Just be aware of things that may be putting unnecessary stress upon them, and let's help them. Let's have the spirit and the attitude of a servant.